Hey, everybody, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And in case you missed last week's episode, like Devin, we had some exciting news that we announced last week. We are joining the Rum Runners Podcast Network. So do us a favor and check out their website, which I just put in the chat here. To find out more about their podcast. Our site is going to be updated soon. So stay tuned for that. I just wanted to give them a quick little plug and remind Devin that we're doing that because he decided not to be here last week. So
I think it sounds like you made this decision like without me, and you're like, "Surprise, Devin! Here it is."
surprise, Devin.
Rum Runners.
So Devin, how was your week? Where were you?
It was wonderful. I was in the Dutch wilderness. It was great. Genuinely, I didn't look at a screen almost the entire week, except for about 2 hours of my life, which we are absolutely going to have to talk about a little bit later on this podcast.
Okay.
But otherwise, I abstained from screens. I read books. I wrote. It was wonderful.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Um,
What did
Ryan,
I miss?
Ryan, you didn't miss much.
No?
We talked about my cousin Vinny.
I saw that. That made me very happy.
Have
I
you
do
seen
like
that?
movie. I have.
I hadn't. So no.
I like that movie.
Yeah. Ryan, how have you been?
I've been okay.
Oh, Ryan, what's wrong?
No, nothing. I've just been okay. I didn't mean
Okay.
any like. If there was inflection, it wasn't meant. It wasn't.
Okay. I spent the weekend celebrating my brother's 21st birthday.
I saw pictures.
Yes. So happy belated birthday to my brother, friend of the show, Noah. And a happy birthday to my mom, who is probably not watching this, but it's my mom's birthday. So if you are friends with my mom on Facebook, go wish her a happy birthday.
Aw.
But
Friend of the show, Jolene.
yeah, mom of the show, Jolene. I think.
Mom of the show. Right. She should be watching, though.
Yeah.
We're listening.
So yeah, before we get into our show proper, we're a movie podcast. We talk about movies every week. We make each other watch movies that one of us hasn't seen before. And I think we have to talk about the big movie news from today, which is the Oscar nominations came out. And I want to do something for the Oscars this year. So maybe it'll be like we'll live stream a watch along or something.
Oh,
And
fun.
We're going to do something for the Oscars. I don't know what yet. I just thought of it. So stay tuned for that. But I figured we'd talk a little bit about the nominations because there's some interesting things in here. I think there's only one movie nominated that we actually talked about on the show.
That sounds about right.
But what categories do you want to start with, guys?
I mean, can we just start with Best Picture? Because it's at the top.
I mean, for me, it's at the bottom. But yeah, we can do that.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm on the official
Oh,
Oscars
I'm on
site.
the independent. It's my
Okay.
bad.
Okay. So yeah, we can start with Best Picture. That's the big one. Let's go. I'll go through them in the order they have them here. I guess it's alphabetical order. The nominees for Best Picture this year are Belfast, which was directed by Kenneth Branagh, Coda, Don't Look Up, the Adam McKay Netflix climate change allegory, Drive My Car, which is the first Japanese film to be nominated for a Best Picture Oscar,
Wow.
Dune, which is based on the book Dune, King Richard, which is based off of Venus and Serena Williams' dad.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah, he's King Richard.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what that movie
genuinely
is.
thought this was Shakespeare.
No.
Have you seen the previews for it?
No.
The only-
Yeah.
That explains it. That
The
explains
only way I would watch Will Smith in Shakespeare is if DJ Jazzy Jeff was there with him.
Oh my god, and they did a revival of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. Yep, done. Hollywood, get on it.
Licorice Pizza by Paul Thomas Anderson, Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley, Jane Champion directed The Power of the Dog, and Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. Those are all your Best Picture nominations. Guys, how many of those films have you seen?
0. Genuinely 0. Oh, 1. I saw 1. I saw Don't Look Up. That was it.
Okay.
I saw Dune.
How many have you seen, Alan?
I've seen 2.
Is it Don't Look Up and Dune?
No, it's Don't Look Up and the one that I'm going to make us watch for next week.
Is it Power of the Dog?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, I hope so, because I'm a cover bitch.
I saw Power of the Dog on Netflix, and it's interesting. I don't want to talk about it at all, but I've seen it, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So those are the Best Picture nominees. Does anything there jump out at you?
I keep hearing about West Side Story and how good it is, and I've seen the original and don't believe anyone. And I'm sure that it's better than I think it is, but I don't know. It's a hard sell for me to want to watch that movie.
Yeah, I've heard great things about Belfast, which is based on Kenneth Branagh's childhood. Like, it's kind of a autobiography film that he wrote and directed. He broke the record for single nominations in a single year.
Good for him.
So I'm interested in that. I've heard great things about Coda.
I don't know about that one.
Coda is about a daughter of a deaf couple who embraces singing, and and her parents kind of push back against it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. I when it comes to this kind of stuff, I get a bit jaded on it. So
why?
So I look at this list and I look at it and I'm like, okay, so all these movies deserve to be here. I saw Dune, but that's not going to win this because I know how these things tend to work. And to me, in my jaded point of view, it's really between Don't Look Up and West Side Story.
I don't think Don't Look Up has a chance.
I've seen plenty of films that I also don't think ever has a chance, but because of who's in it, it gets weight.
All right, that's fair.
Well,
there's a lot of people that Don't Look Up.
I truly believe it's between those two movies because of who's behind and who's in both of them.
I mean, that's a good point, but the thing is, like, Meryl Streep's in that movie, and she didn't get nominated this year, which is weird. That Meryl Streep was in a movie and wasn't nominated.
Well, didn't she play more of like a comedic character instead of like a straight one?
They were all kind of that, though.
She was nominated for one of those singing movies that she did. So I think they just see it,
right?
Not even that one. It was Forrest Foster Jenkins.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so even though she's not nominated, here are the lead best actress in a supporting role. You got Jessie Buckley from The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Judi Dench for Belfast, Kirsten Dunst for Power of the Dog, and Aquane Elise for King Richard. I've only seen Power of the Dog, and I don't know if Kirsten Dunst can take an award away from Judi Dench, because it's Dame Judi Dench.
Dame Judi Dench. No, sorry, she's got this category on lockdown.
Supporting actor. Why did I decide to go with the supporting actors? Because they have so many names I can't pronounce. Cody Smith-McKee for Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons for Being the Ricardos, because he was in that, Jesse Plemons for Power of the Dog, Troy Kotzer for Coda, and Kieran Hines for Belfast. Yeah, I can't really say anything on any of those. Well, I guess it's interesting. It's always interesting to me when you have two actors from the same movie. Power of the Dog, I think Cody Smith-McKee stands a good chance at beating out Jesse Plemons at least. Because
Jesse Plemons.
And then you have the actress in the leading role. Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, which was just playing in town here and I missed it because I didn't know what it was. Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, and Kirsten Stewart for Spencer, where she played Princess Di.
I feel like Kristen Stewart's gonna win for that just based on the pictures I've seen. Like it looks like they did like almost photograph accurate Princess Diana for that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, good.
Ryan, any thoughts on the actress categories?
No, not really.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't like this would be like if we were running through MVP nominees for the NBA.
Yeah.
To me, like I don't follow the NBA, so I don't know any of the players. Like,
all right. Well, you know one of the ones for the last category we'll talk about for the Oscars.
Okay.
So in the actor in a leading role, you have Javier Bardem for being the Ricardos. He played Desi Arnaz. Benedict Cumberbatch for Power of the Dog. Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom. Will Smith for King Richard. And Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Yeah,
I'm glad Andrew Garfield got nominated.
Yes.
I enjoy his performance more than I enjoy Benedict Cumberbatch in Power of the Dog. I don't know if he can beat out Denzel Washington in Shakespeare.
That's a tough one.
So I'll have to watch Tragedy of Macbeth. Yeah. Tick, Tick, Boom, that's the only nomination it got.
That's a shame.
Yeah. I'm surprised that other musicals didn't get more nominations, like In the Heights. Like I haven't seen Encanto yet, but the song that got nominated from Encanto surprised me.
I don't agree with it. I mean, it wasn't the one that made the Billboard top 10, but like again,
no, number one on the Billboard charts, but we don't talk about Bruno.
You know what? I'm going to say that I really appreciate Hollywood's restraint for being the Ricardos not being nominated for Best Picture. Good job. Because usually it's just self-referential. Isn't Hollywood great and quirky movies that make it? And like, it's not bad.
Was it nominated for, because it was Sorkin, so I'm curious, was it nominated for screenplay?
Well, because I want to watch that movie so bad because I love Sorkin. And I like the story of the Ricardos, and like I've seen like their building on the Paramount lot, like and like I've seen like their stuff on the Paramount lot before.
Not nominated for screenplay.
Wow, that doesn't make any sense. Sorkin's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know this one, so I'm judging it before I even know it. But
yeah. So those are the Oscar nominations for this year. Let's see. Anything going on in the chat? No.
It's good. Hold on. So best visual effects, I do have to ask. So best visual effects is Dune, Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi, and Spider-Man. I've seen a good portion of these. I think I'm going to give it to Spider-Man being incredibly biased about all of this.
I mean...
Dune.
Dune?
For me, it's a toss-up between Spider-Man and Dune. There's not really much in No Time to Die that really stands out as special effects.
The end bit, probably.
Even then, it's just a Bond movie with explosions. It's nothing...
I mean, fair.
It's not like they're de-aging Daniel Craig and giving him robotic tentacles or anything, or...
Made him a giant sandworm.
And that's kind of the angle I'm going when it comes to Spider-Man No Way Home. Like I feel like it's a real contender out of that like bunch to win it. My problem is that what in that movie, effects wise, has been done in other Marvel movies. Like it's more or less just a combination of effects seen in other Marvel movies in the past, and not something that's truly like its own thing.
Well, I would say the tentacles are CGI this time. The first time that they did Doc Ock, they were puppets with very minimal CGI. I think the scale on which they play with the universe cracking is probably new. So a lot of the Doctor Strange stuff is like, we've seen Doctor Strange's portals before, because like a lot. but we haven't really seen more of his magic outside of that. So, but yeah, I mean, at the same time, Shang-Chi is nominated here, and there's a lot of cool things in Shang-Chi that I liked visually.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that's and honestly, that's one I haven't seen yet. So I mean, I don't know if from, I don't know if I do not know from seeing it myself how like unique its special effects are compared to everything else that they've done in the MCU so far.
Mhm.
But when I was watching, No Way Home, given that yes, the tentacles are CGI and the whole like universe cracking thing, those are unique and done for like the first time in this one, but there's other aspects to that that have been done that's kind of similar in the other movies. But in Dune, there are things that they did in Dune that they relied on puppets in the first one that they hit home runs on in that
Interesting.
one. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm looking at that and I'm just like, my gut's saying Dune. If Free Guy gets it, I'll toss a brick through a window.
Have any of you seen Free Guy?
no.
I'm really not interested.
It's good.
That's fine.
The internet has spoiled the best parts of Free Guy for me. So,
Oh, not me yet.
all right. So let's move on to the opposite, the bizarre version of the Oscars, if you will, and that is the Golden Razzie nominations also came out. I just want to do a few quick highlights here, and then we're gonna Ryan, you and I are gonna play a game.
Okay.
So for worst picture, the nominees are Diana the Musical, the Netflix version, because I guess they filmed it and put it on Netflix.
Gross.
Infinite, Karen, which I think they're calling that's what they call Cruella in these for some reason. So Cruella, Space Jam: A New Legacy, and The Woman in the Window.
Please let it be between Space Jam and the woman in the window.
Is that
I
not
couldn't
good?
get that one out.
Woman in the Window? Isn't it just like a satire?
I just get really crappy vibes from all of the advertisement I've seen of that movie.
Sure. It's fair.
Okay, then worst actor, you have Scott Eastwood for Dangerous, Ro Hermankoff for Diana the Musical, LeBron James, ESPY winner LeBron James for Space Jam: A New Legacy, Ben Platt for Dear Evan Hansen, and Mark Wahlberg for Infinite.
Okay, so if Space Jam doesn't win Worst Picture, LeBron James needs to win Worst Actor because
I don't know.
like him, I like the guy, but at the same time, no.
I don't know, man. You guys got to watch Dear Evan Hansen then. Like, if for any reason, just to like understand the performance that he gives, because I mean, he's essentially like a 40-year-old singing to 10-year-olds about how much he loves them, and it's so weird.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, your description sounds like he was going for that when LeBron James was. There's nothing worse than seeing like a sports celebrity try to actually act and not land it.
Here's what kills me is LeBron was wonderful in that movie that Alan had us watch,
Trainwreck.
that one rom-com with Trainwreck.
That's
He was the
because
best part of the movie.
That's because he was playing himself, kind of, and it was only in a few parts.
He was
wasn't
all.
trying to carry the whole thing.
He also wasn't acting against green screen. For the most part,
That's true.
There were moments where Bill Hader was like, "I don't want to be in this screen me."
So
right.
yeah,
So worst actress, and then we're gonna get to our game. Amy Adams in Woman in the Window, Jaina DeWall in Diana the Musical, Megan Fox in Midnight in the Switchgrass, Taryn Manning in Karen, and Ruby Rose in Vanquish.
Okay, so regardless of how bad any of them are, I just think the fact that Megan Fox has been in the news recently for what she's been in the news for, I feel like she's going to win it more for that than her actual bad acting skills.
Good.
Okay, so now we're gonna play a game, Ryan. Devin already
Okay.
knows the answer to this question. So I'm going to read you off the nominees for this category, and I need you to tell me what the category's name is. Okay?
I get this. Yeah, fine.
All right. Bruce Willis in American Siege. Bruce
Okay.
Willis in Apex. Bruce
Okay.
Willis in Cosmic Sin.
Okay.
Bruce Willis in Deadlock.
Okay.
Bruce Willis in Fortress. Bruce Willis in Midnight in the Switchgrass.
Okay.
Bruce Willis in Out of Death. And
Okay.
Bruce Willis in Survive the Game.
What's the name
Ryan-
of the category?
Yeah, Ryan, what is the name of the category of those for those films?
Bruce Willis's best films.
There's no best at the Razzies.
Well, I mean, it would be if they were trying to be sarcastic. It
Yeah.
would be if, Bruce Willis's worst performance
In a 2021 movie. Yes.
in the 2021 movie.
Those are all movies that came out last year with Bruce Willis.
It's so much.
I find it funny that they wanted to give him a Razzie so bad that they made it like they made his own category for it.
I'm gonna be honest. I absolutely love the worst screen combo category.
I was
Not
gonna.
to-
I was just gonna.
Yeah.
You want to read those ones off?
I would be delighted. So the worst screen combo are any klutzy cast member and any lamely chorusized or choreographed musical number in Diana the Musical. LeBron James and any Warner cartoon character or Time Warner product he dribbles on in Space Jam: A New Legacy. Jared Leto and either his 17-pound latex face, his geeky clothes, or his ridiculous accent in House of Gucci. Ben Platt and any other character who acts like Ben Platt singing 24/7 is normal from Dear Evan Hansen, and Tom and Jerry, aka Itchy and Scratchy from Tom and Jerry. I love this.
Again, I want to go with LeBron James.
LeBron James. LeBron
I
James.
now want to see House of Gucci so much more.
I just want to get it out there. I'm not crapping on Space Jam. I'm not. I actually enjoyed it, and if kids like it as much as we when we were kids and we liked the first one, let them watch it. Don't crap on it for them. I just like dumping on LeBron. Just like
You like
because he can
dunking on
take
LeBron?
I
Yeah,
wasn't gonna go for the pun. I wasn't gonna go.
There.
That's all I do. All right, I think that does it for our Oscar or movie nomination news. Let us know in the comments what you're rooting for and what you want to see that was nominated, either for an Oscar or for a Razzie. Because I think there's films on both lists that I want to check out still. So,
Me too.
that being said,
Mm.
Devin, you missed a week. We haven't talked to you for 2 weeks now.
It's been a while.
Have you watched anything good in the last 2 weeks?
I did. So I said I was in front of one screen once this whole last week, and it was specifically to watch Coming to America.
The
I'm
original.
happy.
The original, not the sequel.
I
Okay.
am so proud of you on multiple levels for choosing the original one and actually watching it on your own.
The way the conversation went was I was in a house full of Romana's family, and they went something something something, and then like reference the thing. And I went, I don't know what that's from, and they go, okay, it's from Coming to America. Definitely, I don't know what that is, and they're like, Coming to America. I'm like, I missed Eddie Murphy's comedy career, and they're like, fine, we're putting it on now, and I had no choice. They put it on and made me watch it.
Finally, you know what? You married into the right family.
I
It's
think that a
about
lot.
time. It's about time something, there's a group of people in your actual physical life that like does this stuff for you.
Their next big mountain for me is Leslie Nielsen's entire career.
Good, as it should be.
I haven't
Wait.
seen anything Leslie Nielsen's been in.
Really?
Not a single movie. Not Dracula Dead and Loving It, not the Naked Gun movies, not Airplane, not...
Surely you can't be serious.
I know Bob makes that joke. My stepdad makes that joke, and that's the only thing I know from a movie.
Oh,
But no,
man.
I love Coming to America. It was amazing. It was funny. I know this is not a hot take or even a newer original take. I want to see the sequel. There's no way it could be as bad as everyone says it is. But I really, really like it. I just want to see those characters again, to be honest.
Yeah. I haven't seen the original in years. So I need to go back and revisit that. So
It's good.
since we're not going to
absolutely
do it
love
for the show now,
Yeah. We'll just have to watch it on our own time, but I'll watch it again any day of the week.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'll have to check that
I
one
knew
out.
you would like it.
I will say the only thing I had about the movie, the only comment I had was that 80s mustaches sure age people. Like, Eddie Murphy had an 80s mustache. I'm like, he's either 10 or 40, I guess. But apparently he was turning 21. But, like, I would have believed he was early 40s.
The Ben Platt method.
Exactly. The Ben Platt method. But no, wonderful movie. Keep up the good work, Eddie
Okay.
Murphy.
I watched some stuff. I can't remember which one I put in it first. Oh, so there's a new show on Netflix I want to tell you guys about called Murderville.
Is it good?
I've watched the first episode of Murderville. Ryan, have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. It's a murder procedural show starring Will Arnett.
Mm-hmm.
You know who Will Arnett is, right?
Yes.
Okay. He plays a detective. In every episode, they have a guest star come on. And the guest star is not given a script. And they have to improvise everything that happens in the episode while everyone else has a script. The first episode, the guest star is Conan O'Brien.
Oh my God.
Oh.
I mean,
And
you'd be perfect for something like that, though.
yeah. So the first episode revolves around a magician's assistant who actually got sawed in half. And they have to solve the murder and like who switched out the saws. It's based on a British show that has the same concept of the guest star not getting the script, but some other guest stars are like Ken Jeong, Kumail Nanjiani. I can't remember who else. I can't really see them that well from the picture here.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Sharon Stone's on it.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, but just the way that like Will Arnett's like leaning into some bits just to make Conan break, and it's hysterical. I highly recommend this. It's a lot of fun and different, and Will Arnett's rocking the 80s mustache. So
He is. I absolutely love Will Arnett. I cannot wait to watch this now.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was the premise, so I'm so excited for this.
oh yeah, this is right up your alley.
Yeah. 100%.
Like if you were still in LA, you might be able to get a part in the show.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Moving back.
Right. What have you been watching lately?
Well, I went through a binge of like rewatching Next Generation the past couple months, like whenever I had time, and that ended a few days ago. So I'm like, I want to either rewatch something or start something new that's old and just kind of like run through it. And I've never watched The Simpsons from beginning to end. There's a huge there's more seasons that I haven't seen of The Simpsons than seasons I've seen stuff from, and I've never watched it through. So like I don't know what episode I saw was from what season because I haven't seen it collectively. And right now I'm at like episode 4 or 5 of season 2. And about like 3 days ago I started like going through. Just started at episode 1 and ran through it, and I'm starting to realize that my earliest TV memories is watching I think it was either episode 2 or 3 of The Simpsons of season 2.
Which one is that?
Yeah.
The one it was the one where they accidentally drive into the monster truck rally and the car gets chewed up by the robot dinosaur.
Yep.
So there's that. It's like I was watching the episode. I'm like, I remember this episode from when I was like 6, or 7. Definitely prior to like 94, 93. And then the other scene happened that I have a real memory of, that like where the news reporter, investigative reporter, shows up and finds the 3-eyed fish and causes Mr. Burns to run for governor or mayor, governor. and Bart Simpson turns around and says, "I'm Bart. Who the hell are you?" I
Oh, yeah.
remember my parents, like, after that episode, like, really heavily talking, like, in front of me, like, saying, "Should we be letting him watch this show?" And then I also remember, like, it being talked about on the news after that episode. That like, for some reason, that's the episode that, like, caught the media's attention of the show. So it's like I'm getting to that point where, like, now I'm watching these episodes, I'm like, oh yeah, Homer was a mascot for, like, the local team, and then went up to the majors, and, like, it failed, and they had to move back to Springfield. So yeah, I'm starting that journey. So 30 years worth of TV. So 30.
How is it?
What
I mean, aside from it obviously being nostalgic, like, does it hold up? Like,
yeah,
if
I'd say it
somebody
holds
who'd never
up.
seen
I mean,
Simpsons,
okay,
yeah,
if someone's never seen The Simpsons before, and you go into it and say, look, it's the first couple seasons of a show, it's lasted for 30 years, there's going to be some stuff they're just going to go at, but it's going, but other than that, there's going to be other moments where you're going to, like, really laugh at it.
Mhm.
And are there dated references? Yes, because
Yeah.
it was like 91, 92. I mean,
I mean,
but it holds up.
yeah, it holds up. It definitely holds up.
It's weird watching the first season of The Simpsons because, like, you see, like, the baseline for all of these characters. Like Sideshow Bob has his first episode in season 1, and
Mhm.
then, like, you see how the show's changed since that first season. Like, Smithers is African American in the first season.
Yes.
Oh, he is. That's right.
Wiggum looks different.
Yeah.
And,
The
like,
news reporter
and, like,
is different too.
as you watch the show, like, you'll hear Dan Castanella's Homer voice get away from the Walter Matthau impression and into Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's I've been rewatching The Simpsons since it became available on Disney Plus, and I've just gotten to the point where I'm, like, in the season where they switched to HD. So I'm in, like,
funny.
season 21. So it's only taken me 2 years to get there. So I watch a lot of The Simpsons. Please help. But Ryan, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you watching it in full HD on? I'm assuming you're watching on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you watching it in the full HD, or are you watching it in the standard def? The original
Well,
standard
it
def.
said, I looked online because the opening seems fine. The opening, the way it's cut seems fine. But then there's, like, times where, like, okay, that looks like it's done normally, but then there's other times where, like, this has got to be, like, close up, like, this has got to be cut in. And I've looked, and on my Xbox on the app, I cannot find the selection. But then I read that it's only certain episodes and certain seasons that they did that ratio on.
No.
Oh,
There's a trick to get it to watch it, and this is how I did it. If you log into Disney Plus on your computer, you can choose which format you watch the show in, and then it will carry that over on your account to other devices. So unless you're getting the black bars on the side, it's been stretched, and you're missing.
So
you're,
I'm
you're
watching it
missing gaps.
stretched.
Yeah,
I figured.
I would recommend fixing that
I have to
setting.
get it on my laptop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send you the link on the info on how to do that.
Well,
because-
I can log into it right after this and figure it out. It's
or
just
or
I spent time on the.
or if you want to borrow my DVDs, I've got seasons 1 through 15.
that's amazing.
Yeah. If you can't tell, I like The Simpsons. To the point where I am watching like a hawk the Simpsons arcade machine that they have at Walmart right now
Yeah.
for $500. Like, if I hit it rich in the next, as long as they have it, I'm getting one of those. Or if they go on clearance, I am buying one of those. But I refuse to pay $500 for a glorified
I hope you
TV
get one.
in a ROM emulator.
I
Okay.
want you to have it so bad.
I have one more recommendation before we get into Wall Street, and I promise I'll
Mhm.
make it quick because we're
Okay.
running late into the show. So I don't know if I told you guys about the show before, but I've been watching The Righteous Gemstones on HBO.
You mentioned it, yeah.
Have either of you seen this?
I know of it. I don't
Okay.
know much about it. I just know that it exists. I've heard someone else talk about it.
It centers around a mega church family that runs the church, and like their dad's the pastor, their mom was like a Christian music child star who passed away a few years ago. So it's like the family drama dealing with like each other and their egos and like criminal element, which is weird. It stars Danny McBride and John Goodman. Those are the two that I'll talk about. John Goodman in this show is phenomenal, especially in this last week's episode. I don't want to give anything away, but I'm really enjoying the show. Devin, I think this is right up your alley.
Good.
Ryan, I don't know if I can recommend this for you as much. I think there'll be parts of it you enjoy. But it's probably my favorite. Like I found myself waiting for it to be on HBO to watch it, like at 10 o'clock Sunday nights, after Euphoria. Like I haven't watched Euphoria yet, but I'm ready for Righteous Gemstones. So
It's on HBO, so it's on HBO Max too then?
yes.
Good. Okay. This is I now have what I'm going to watch on my flight figured out. Thank you
Nice.
both.
You are welcome. All right, and that does it for our We Watch This segment. Let's get into today's main topic, and that is the 1987 film Wall Street, which is Ryan's pick for Devin and I to watch. So Ryan, take it away.
Okay, so like Alan said, it came out in 1987. It was directed by Oliver Stone and written by Stanley Weiser and Oliver Stone. The movie is based is taking his dad's experience with being a stockbroker, Oliver Stone's dad with being a stockbroker, and taking what he knew from that and the junk bond and insider trading scandal of the early to early mid 80s and pretty much made this movie. To me, it is like, I saw this when I was in high school, and for the longest time, I really was going over in my head, is this like an actual like negative view of Wall Street? Is this with a political agenda? Which obviously it is, but still, I really had a hard time trying to find out, like, is this how this could actually happen? Is this the attitudes you actually find on Wall Street? Because for a long time, I didn't really care one way or the other, but this was kind of, in my world. And so this is where I kind of, like had that battle. And then I did some digging in news and reports, and some other, fallout in the market has happened in our lifetime. So I pretty much go like, yeah, this is a depiction of Wall Street that I will call believable. So, like I said, I saw it for the first time in high school. I watch it about once every 2 to 3 years, simply because this is not a movie that I can just put on and like not pull myself away from. And it's long enough that I don't want to make myself bored of it either. So, there's that. But I definitely would put this in like my top 50 movies that I enjoy. So, given that, both of you had never seen this before, right?
Correct.
Never.
Okay, so Devin, you have been really like anxious on this, so I'm gonna go to Alan first.
Good.
To give you time. So,
Okay.
Alan, what did you think? First impressions.
Okay, so it's hard for me to take Charlie Sheen seriously at all anymore. Post Tiger Blood and Winning, post all that, it's hard for me to take him seriously as an actor. I was surprisingly impressed with his performance in this. I think I knew what the plot of this was just based off of the trailer for the sequel that I saw 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew how it was going to end, and I think that kind of took away from it a little bit. Like I knew like who was going to win in the end. And I think I almost said Michael Keaton. Michael Douglas does a great job as like the villain type.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's just Not something I would seek out for myself.
Understood. I can understand that.
But Dr. Cox, like, holy hell. I did
Yeah,
not
that was
expect that.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Dr. Cox in this.
Little baby Cox.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
so good.
pretty much. That was prior to all of his joy getting sucked out of his soul. It was pretty. So, is that what you have for like your first impressions? Like your pretty much your summary?
I would say so.
Okay, Devin.
I have never seen more garbage people in a single movie than I've seen in this movie. I've watched movies where you're supposed to hate every character, and
Yeah.
I've liked characters more. I don't know who in this character I was supposed to like. I guess it was Charlie Sheen, but he spent 90% of the movie making the Charlie Sheen face, where like his mouth's like just a little open, and I'm like, and like he's like looking at the camera in the way that he knows is sexy. Like he spends too much of the movie doing that, but also his character is garbage and inside trades the second he gets the chance. My favorite, oh my god, there's so much I want to talk about this movie. I love when you first see Michael Douglas, like, and he's at like bank of 90s computers, and like you can tell they're going for like high-powered 90s, and I'm like, oh, it's so
1985, Devin. It says at the beginning 1985.
It does, doesn't it? And this was even
Yes, it
made in
does.
in 87. So like that's totally my bad. Or like and oh god, it's just so beautiful the way they like make these characters spout jargon like they're smart people not saying nothing. My favorite part was Carolyn. I think it's Carolyn, the lady who was like, I want to do for interior design what so and so did for soft interiors. I want to make new, bespoke, affordable antiques. I'm like, then they're not antiques. You're not making antiques. Like you're saying you want nothing. And then she's like, let me arrange your house. I'm going to have it in, and it's like plates glued to the wall. I'm like, I don't even like you. Or the, here's my favorite part. Sorry, I'll stop ranting in a second. My favorite part is that their rich person dinner that they have now that they're rich people is spaghetti and sushi. What is happening in this movie?
What was it with sushi in the 80s? That looked
I don't know.
disgusting. It looked like they put a slug on top of rice.
Because the meat's not as isn't as like artificially fused with color as it is nowadays.
I can
I
accept that.
I can't. No.
I also realize that I am too staunchly practical for a lot of the stuff in this movie. Like when he purchased a nigiri roller, I'm like, thanks, 2 days a year you're gonna use that kitchen gadget.
Okay, so
I know that
I
wasn't
love-
thoughts on the movie, and that was incoherent nonsense.
okay, so your overall thought, your impression, like your first experience, like that whole thing. Let's try to tail back to that. Let's try-
My God, okay, I had so much fun with this movie.
Okay,
in
good.
such that there were just everything about that where like I laughed whenever their fancy dinner was sushi and spaghetti. I laughed whenever like she's like, let me do your house, and it was nothing. And then like, oh, it was such a and like when Martin Sheen came in, it's like, I'm blue collar worker, but I got the right of it, and I'm like, of course you do, Charlie or Martin Sheen, you keep going, man. Like the movie is so readily apparent with what it does. Like it signals that all of its characters are garbage people the second they're on screen, and it doesn't stop doing that. But like it was fun despite me hating everything about it. Those are my real thoughts on this movie.
That's fine. That's fine.
So going off of what Devin said, I think the only character who is likable in this is Martin Sheen.
But he's supposed to be. Like
Yeah,
I feel
but
like yeah.
and it works. Like he is the only one that is likable, because he's the only one who's making sense and like sees things as they are. And like Charlie Sheen's like, no, it's not, Dad. Don't say that about my friend. Like, you want to talk this way to Emilio Estevez? So,
Guys, this movie hit me at such a weird time too, because like this movie could have been today. Like you could remake Wall Street now and call it NFT. And like the movie stays the same. Dad, we're making NFTs of your airline. It'll be totally great. You don't get it. It's just a flash in the pan, son. Why aren't you proud of me and what I've done? Like you could make it now. like this movie is like inadvertently timeless. I love and hate it for that.
As long as as long as we have the economic system and the availability to buy stuff on a whim and sell it and not really own it, truly own something physical, this movie will stay timeless as long as that's, able to be done. I mean, you could do the same thing with Bitcoin or any type of e-currency. You could do the same thing.
V-Bucks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Alan, out.
Yeah, so I mean, there's that. Okay, so let's get to. I just want to go over. I mean, there's a lot about this movie. I was doing research, and I didn't want to spend 2 hours talking about this, so I whittled it down to like. We're gonna talk a little bit about the meaning of the movie later on, but I just want to get a sense for like how you guys feel about the performances in it. And since Alan brought up Charlie Sheen, let's just drive through that brick wall now. Charlie Sheen, pre his I'm a rock star from Mars interview and that whole craziness, was one of my favorite actors, and this movie is one of those reasons why. Because even though Devin, like you said, he tried to do like the whole open mouth and like look at the screen thing. I mean, it's an Oliver Stone movie, and I highly doubt Oliver Stone would let him get away with that crap if he didn't want his character to do it.
Right.
To be honest, so to me, that's more of like what Oliver Stone wanted him to do for his character. But the fact that I feel that Charlie Sheen does a really good job of portraying of what a adult version of a wannabe is, to then doing a really good performance of someone who's found a conscience in this, and that's my takeaway of it. You guys, with all of that whole Rockstar from Mars thing like taken out of the picture.
I mean, sincerely, I did like his performance. I mean, like I said, he signals so incredibly early on that he is just a garbage man, and and just is that. And then he does turn around and he's like, "Oh, okay, here's my conscience. I found it, behind the toilet or something." And then halfway, he does insider trading, but for the good guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he does a believable version of all of that. I think the worst ding that I can give to his performance is I didn't believe that there was any chemistry between him and Carolyn.
And we're going to get into that in a little bit, but yeah.
Well, and I kind of get where they were going and why there isn't, but I mean, that's otherwise great. I like it.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job, and I think this is both the storytelling and the performance with Charlie Sheen, of showing his character's corruption increase throughout the film. Like at the beginning, he's like hesitant to do anything for Gecko, and then by the end of it, he's like wearing sunglasses inside like a complete dickwad, and like it gets super cocky. Like he becomes more sure of himself to the point where it's his own demise. And I think he does a good job in the performance of getting there gradually. It's not like a hard turn and he's there automatically. It takes time, and little things happen that get him to that point. And I think that's both a storytelling thing and a performance thing. But I like that progression. And then the full 180 where he's like, oh no, wait, this is a mistake. Like that, it was believable because you had such a gradual rise to that peak douchiness that when you came back down, it made sense, but you still couldn't really come all the way back from that.
Yeah. And that in that fall where he finds his conscience and he like he leaps before he looks, where he gets himself in trouble. The scene where he goes to visit his dad in the hospital, which would be his character father and his real father, which I love. I really wanted to say that.
No, it's a good one, yeah.
The inspiration for his performance, talking to his dad when he was in the hospital, came from a real life situation that he had with his dad, because his dad had a heart attack filming Apocalypse Now in '79, and so he took his conversation he had with his dad in real life in the hospital when he had the heart attack and pretty much just redid it again.
Wow.
And so his dad realized what he was doing in the middle of the scene, and that's why his dad was acting the way he was on the bed, because he was trying to control his emotions, because he was supposed to be on the bed, from having a heart attack, really worn out, and he was about to like ugly cry in the bed, which is something that he didn't think he could actually do in the state that his character was in. So that's why, you know, he turned his head away, but you could see his eyes were beet red during that scene.
That's a really cool fact about that scene that I wish I knew while I was watching, because I like that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that makes me want to go back and rewatch that scene at least.
Yeah, and that's why you've got like that scene. I absolutely love it. So let's go from Charlie Sheen
real quick before while we're
yes.
still on the hospital scene. Devin,
Yes.
are you disappointed that since Martin Sheen is playing Charlie Sheen's father, that they didn't get Emilio Estevez to come in and play Charlie Sheen's brother because he's his brother? Because I'm a little bit disappointed.
That would have been really fun, though.
It would have been. So let's get to Charlie Sheen's girlfriend in this and their chemistry, because there's a lot behind the scenes on this, but I really want to get your guys's like issues with her out of the way before I bring any of that up, because either you're going to like be like, oh, that's why, or you're gonna be like, oh crap.
I feel like I'm gonna put my foot all the way in my mouth, and you're gonna make me do it. But here it goes. Her character is garbage. She is everyone. She is everyone in the interior design industry that I used to work with. It's like, I'm reinventing the way people think about sofas, and it's like, no, you're not. You put a nightstand next to it, and those belong in the bedroom. You're not reinventing how people think about sofas. You're not doing anything great. You're putting paper plates against the wall and coloring them red. I was so distracted by that stupid piece of art she put with like the mouths. I get that it was symbolic. Who does that? They eat there. I don't know. Everything about everything that her character did just annoyed me in a very personal and really like incomprehensible and not relatable in anyone else way. It's totally a personal issue.
The worst thing with her design is like that table where Gecko like puts the plate down and it just falls to the ground, and she's like, "Oh, it's okay. Max does that all the time." I'm like, then that's not a good table. Like the function of a table is I should be able to take a cup or a plate or a book and put it on the table and it stays there. It doesn't go falling down through to the floor.
You are not thinking like an interior designer, Alan. The purpose of the table is not to set things on. Goodness, you do not set things on the good table. The purpose of that table is to control the flow of energy going through the room and out the door, so you have that positive flow while you're sitting.
Really
Alan,
my point is, that's not the good table if it has a hole in it. That's not a good table. I can put whatever the hell I want on it.
Well, if only you were a bougie stockbroker, you'd understand what a good table is.
Okay.
But I'm a podcaster in the year 2022. What are you going to do?
Okay, so I'm going to start this off by asking a question. Did you guys notice that it was kind of really weird to only introduce Gecko's wife like once?
Yeah.
In the middle of the film.
Yeah.
That was weird, right?
Her whole thing was didn't make any sense.
The actress that played Gecko's wife wanted to play that character, the interior designer character.
Oh man.
She felt that the actress that they picked was not right for the role. The mermaid from the Tom Hanks movie.
Daryl Hannah.
Thank you, Daryl Hannah. She did not feel that Daryl Hannah was a good pick for the role, and a lot of other people felt the same way, and obviously you two do as well, because Devin, didn't you say you didn't like their chemistry before?
No, I didn't.
So a lot of people felt that way, but Oliver Stone felt like he had already committed to Daryl and couldn't back out of it. So the reason why Gecko's wife is not in the movie as much, because there were a ton of scenes filmed with her. She would show up to set late. She'd purposely not go over the lines, not practice. She would leave set in the costume that they would put her in purposely. She did everything she could to disrupt, to show Oliver Stone that she was mad that she didn't get that role.
Okay.
And so they pretty much cut her out of the whole movie.
Okay. You know who this actress is, right? That plays his wife.
I saw her name once or twice when I was reading stuff, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. So
It's Sean Young.
okay, Sean Young. That's who it is.
Who
yeah.
was in Blade Runner. Devin, she played Rachel in Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah.
She's Einhorn in Ace Ventura. Pet Detective.
Yeah.
She's infamous for campaigning for the role of Catwoman in Batman Returns, to the point where she went on a talk show. I can't remember if it was Donahue or Oprah, one of those early 90s talk shows, in a black leotard to campaign for this role of Catwoman, like, and was like meowing and like playing with yarn and shit.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She was pretty out there back in the day. I don't want to say anything about
Yeah.
her now, but yeah, hearing that from you about her in this movie, I'm not surprised at all.
So there was and her attitude disrupted the entire filmmaking process and actually the storyline. There was supposed to be a subplot where Charlie Sheen's character and her have an affair behind Gecko's back, and that's why at the end Gecko is so mad at Charlie Sheen that his outburst of actually punching him was because he was supposed to have found out that there was an affair going on between his wife and him. So there's that. But Charlie Sheen also put a note on her back that the crew he supposedly put a note on her back during one of their scenes that none of the crew told her about until later that said, "I am a C word."
Oh no. Oh
So there's that. Yeah, I know. But apparently that happened. So their chemistry was not well at all either. But I feel like they could have definitely picked someone else to play that character. And Devin, I understand what you mean about 80s, like, contemporary design. But I kind of understood everything that she was doing when I was watching it.
It's really good for you.
I mean, because like she mentioned because when Charlie Sheen mentioned about his apartment, and she said, "Oh, you mean the bare brick wall?" Like that type of thing.
Yeah.
And they put up a fake brick wall in the apartment and then cover it with like fake plaster to make it look like the wall was coming down.
Yeah.
And then putting like gold leaf in places. I'm like, this is 280s.
See,
this is really
the
280s.
The gold leaf is where they lost me. Like I like the look of the fake brick a little bit.
Yeah.
But once they started adding stuff to it, I was like, okay, that's just too much.
It's a bit too much.
It was pure.
Too much
I mean, it was pure 80s. So I mean, there's that. So are we good on her? That definitely they probably
by the way,
could
she was
cast someone
Darian.
else.
I forgot about that. I was calling her Carol. She's Darian. Whoops.
Yeah, it's fine. But do you feel that they
correct
could
me.
have? Do you feel that they could have casted someone else for the role? Because
in general, yeah.
I mean, it's an award-winning performance. She won the Razzie that year for worst actress. So
she did. She did.
Is that what this won a Razzie for?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's what this won a Razzie for.
but
she was good as a mermaid. But
yeah.
Not...
It also won an Oscar, though.
It did.
Yeah, Ryan, that was me setting you up to talk about the next actor you're supposed to.
Douglas. Michael Douglas, right?
Yeah.
He
won.
Best actor, obviously.
Yeah.
So I just want to get a few points out of the way so I don't forget them. One, he based his character off of at the time, the coach for the LA Lakers. So his like outburst and yelling and the way he carried himself, he modeled him off of the coach of the Lakers from the 80s. He also read a ton of books to like get, to actually get knowledge about the stuff. So he wasn't just like repeating lines. He actually knew somewhat of what he was talking about to actually get that down in his performance. And the funny part was the writer that helped Oliver Stone write this movie modeled Gecko's speech pattern off of Oliver Stone's. So
funny.
So when Gecko's like talking on the phone and he's just like rapid fire saying stuff, he's pretty much doing a Oliver Stone impression.
That's funny. I like that.
And but yeah, I mean, to me, he's what makes this movie. When I watch this movie, I don't watch it for Charlie Sheen, even though I like his performance in it.
Mm.
I watch this movie for Gecko, and that's really it.
Okay, admittedly speaking, I have to say that his performance was good because I didn't like him at all as a character.
Yeah.
But I think that's because I don't like that kind of person. Like, and I feel like nothing that that character did seemed like it didn't fit. So I think he did a really good job portraying this character that I just don't like. But I want to know what about the actor, and I don't mean this in a leading or like mean way, but like what about the actor or the character or the performance wasn't just kind of like generic I'm rich because I'm rich. Like if the tagline for the movie is greed is good, then that's essentially just the character that they made. Like what part of his performance elevated it for you to that's what you want to watch it for? And again, I'm just curious. Like I'm not like saying it in a mean way or anything. I do think his performance is great.
Can I take that one? Because I think I
Yeah,
have
sure, go ahead. Yeah.
For me, it's not just the performance of Gordon Gekko; it's how manipulative he is in the story. Like he's putting all of these different pieces into play early on, like getting Bud to tell him about his dad at the airline, and like he knows from the beginning what his plan is going to be, and then like you see him behind the curtain, like doing things behind Bud's back, and like the evilness. Like he's a Wall Street supervillain pretty much. Like he has everything planned out meticulously, and like executes his plan so well that Charlie Sheen almost can't stop him. But
Yeah, and that's part of it. The fact that he's pretty much what you would call nowadays like a vulture capitalist, where he's looking for businesses he can buy and basically liquidate and sell off, or buy and actually like make, or actually find stuff that that like suits him. But pretty much what they show is what he does. He buys companies, he gets investment because he knows on the back end he can pretty much he can own and then sell.
Yeah, and now that we're talking about it, I did like that aspect of it a lot, where you kind of saw him like the whole time he's like elevating like Charlie Sheen's character, and they're like riding their little dune buggies, and he's got and like even the line where Charlie Sheen's like, I didn't know how poor I was till I became rich, or something like that.
Yeah.
I just you feel so bad for him because you're like, man, he's playing you so hard.
Yeah,
and like I don't think I would have had that emotion if I guess Michael Douglas wasn't doing such a good job.
And the first time I saw this movie, I had no intention, or I had no knowledge about it the first time I watched it, so I didn't know what was going on in it. And the part that set up a red flag for me was when he was signing the contract at Gecko's like beach house.
Yep.
And he was saying like, you have power of attorney, which means this all falls on you. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'd be handing the pen over and say, sorry, I'm out, and then get, and call for a taxi and leave. Like,
yeah.
But the thing with me, and what makes the character not just like a generic villain, is the fact that Gecko tells Fox that, like, I started out like you, I was a broker. And then he made himself who he was, just by playing the game that he pretty much developed or got from someone else. And that's where like this character, regardless if that's a lie or a truth, it's enough of a background for me to be invested in the character and see what happens. And besides that speech he gives, the greed is good, like that speech and that line is regarded to be one of the top 100 lines of like film.
Yeah. And now that you guys are talking about it, I think my biggest problem with his character isn't the performance and isn't even the character, but it's what the real life analog to that character looks like.
Yeah.
And how the real life analog to that character is regarded. Because that character, minus the whole like getting in trouble for it at the end part, is the Wall Street genius, is the guy you want to be. Like and they even show some of that in the movie, like Gordon Gekko's on magazines. Gordon Gekko is, a household name because he's this, super smart, super suave, always knowledgeable broker. And yeah, okay, yeah. My problem is this is a personal problem. Then I have a
Yeah.
problem with people like that, and not with his performance. Thank you.
And I do too, but
Yeah,
I appreciate what this film is doing and
Yeah.
what and what his character represents, and that's one of the reasons why I can only watch this movie like once every 2 years. And
How
I can definitely tell you, and I can definitely tell you, not during a recession either.
yeah.
I've got to ask, how many times do you watch Wall Street Never Sleeps? Its sequel that came out 27 years later.
I tried to watch it once and I fell asleep through it. And to be honest, I didn't really like Shia LaBeouf in it. And because and I'm not crapping on him. There are movies I like him in. I feel like he is a good actor. It just depends on what he's doing, and that's just not one of those movies.
Okay.
This brings me to a really weird question. How did you guys watch the movie? Like through what service? Do you own this on DVD, Ryan?
I own it on DVD. Yeah.
Okay. Alan, how did you watch this?
It was on HBO Max for me.
This was on Disney Plus for me.
Are you serious? It's on Disney
Yeah.
Plus.
100%.
Gordon Gekko is a Disney prince.
I love it.
It's got to be in that adult section. That's on
It
Disney
has to be.
Plus.
All I know is that like I literally searched it on my TV, which is like connects to Disney Plus, and I was like, oh cool, I'll watch it, and it brought up Disney Plus, and then after this, it recommended DuckTales.
Okay, so
Woo!
that's funny. Because that gets me to something with Charlie Sheen's character that I wasn't going to bring up until now.
Mhm.
Have you guys seen the Denzel Washington movie Flight? I think it's
Yes.
called Flight.
Yeah,
Okay,
I really
you
like
have-
that movie.
Okay, so the scene where Denzel Washington wakes up in the hotel room and like the flight attendants in there with him, and they do like the full nude scene of her walking through the hotel room to the camera. Okay, they do the same thing with I'm going to assume it's a prostitute in Wall Street with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a connection there that I would not be surprised if the people who made Flight wanted to show at the start of the movie the path that Denzel Washington's character was going to go on by basically copying that scene.
that's a good point because that foreshadows the whole movie.
It does
Like-
foreshadow the whole movie.
Wow, that's really cool. I didn't think about that at all.
In both movies, it does the exact same thing.
Never
Wow.
seen Flight.
It's worth it. Maybe we'll get you to watch it.
Yeah.
If only we had a platform for that.
I know, right?
But yeah, so he's the main reason why I watch this movie. It's the main reason why I like it. And my favorite scene from this movie involves him. And it involves the climax to what I think of the climax of the film is. And that's where Charlie Sheen goes in to confront where Fox goes in and confronts the Gecko for what he's doing to Blue Star.
Yeah.
I love that scene because there's only 2 cuts in that scene, and both of those cuts happen right towards the middle part of their conversation, and those 2 cuts happen within 5 seconds, and they all do that one shot. From that last cut to where over the shoulder, everything from right before he does that speech of like how wealth is distributed in the US is where they do that last cut. Everything from there to when Sheen leaves the office is one giant take, and I love that.
I have to go back and rewatch that scene now too because I like me a good long take. So
Yeah, like it's great because I mean he walks in, confronts, they stand up, and they're talking right by his bar, by where the sofas are, and then they do the whole cut like over the shoulder with them talking to each other, and then right before he walks over to the bar and they do the actual like explanation of what's going on, it's all one giant take between the 2 of them, and it just, to me, it's one of the it's the best scene in the movie.
I really like that. There was more unconventional camera work in this movie than I thought there was going to be. Because I like noticed, I mean, for me it was a little jarring when they'd pan the camera more than I thought they'd pan the camera a few times. And there were a few more long takes, like you had said, than I was expecting.
Yeah.
which is very cool. Like that's something that I didn't expect from a movie like this.
Yeah. So before we get to anything else, if you guys want to, my last thing is the one thing that always takes me out of this movie for like a few seconds to a minute, something that I just have to like process because I always forget it. This movie is set in the summer of '85 is when this film takes place because he goes to see he goes to give him his box of cigars on May 6th.
Yeah.
So this happens during the summer.
Mhm.
When prior to all this happening, and him and the guy from Scrubs are like razzing each other a little bit,
Mhm.
they mentioned the Challenger explosion. The Challenger explosion happened in January of '86.
What?
When this movie is supposed to be taking place in the summer of '85.
That's awkward. I didn't even catch
It's
that.
awkward. It is very awkward for me, and it's just one of those small things.
I'm guessing the year was added in post then, because you have the same thing with the film adaptation of Rent. Like in one of the songs, one of the characters mentions Thelma and Louise, but the movie takes place during 1989, like 2 years before Thelma and Louise came out.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
So I know for the adaptation, for the film adaptation of Rent, they added the year. The year was not part of it before that. They just needed to date it for prosperity's sake. So
yeah. So that's one of those things that I always kind of like why is you it's like this isn't '85. So
That's I think those are funny things though. I always like I'm now looking up like goofs in the movie, but like those are always funny though.
yeah, they are, and that's one of the things that always like kind of takes me out of it real quick. But
I have a goof that
yeah.
I just read about for the sequel.
Yeah.
So Devin, Gordon Gekko's kid, does he have a son or a daughter?
He has a son. He's 3 years old. He's smartest in his class.
Yeah, in the sequel, he has a daughter.
Did they just stop talking? Did they like? Did he have a daughter who never made screen
No,
appearances?
same
here?
kid.
No.
It's supposed to be the same kid.
Does Shia LaBeouf fall in love with the daughter?
Yeah, he's her fiance.
Thanks, I hate it.
And
Stop
she's
this movie.
and part of the movie is basically the fact that he's trying to find a relationship again with his estranged daughter. Like that's part of the plot of the movie.
And then Shia LaBeouf spends a weekend at their house, a la Meet the Fockers. Got it.
Actually, no. Well, here, Shia LaBeouf is already involved with his daughter. He gets out of prison, writes a book.
Shia LaBeouf
meets
gives him the
Shia
Ant-Man
LaBeouf.
suit.
Shia LaBeouf
Uh-huh.
Meets Gordon, and they kind of form a business relationship on the deal that he helps him like reconnect with his daughter, which eventually does happen. But you have a lot of Wall Street stuff kind of happen in between all of that. But I really wasn't too impressed by it. Like I thought it was going to be more about like modern like Wall Street when it came out, but it was set in like the year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Oh, really? That's dumb.
yeah. So like none of the stuff that happened in Wall Street, like that, actually crapped like the economy for like 7 years. Didn't really actually crapped Wall Street more than anything else. Didn't really like get in there.
Here's what I want. I want the Rocky Balboa of this franchise. I want a geriatric Gordon Gekko trying to use a modern Mac to do stock trading. And like, I want that movie. And then I want someone to introduce him to NFTs and just watch his eyes melt out of his nose. Like,
no, what I want is a
please.
short of Gordon Gekko
Mhm.
at a retirement home while somebody's trying to show him how to use Robinhood.
I'm a bit more curious. Like we talk about Gordon Gekko in the sequel, I'm more curious to see where Charlie Sheen's character winds
Yeah,
up.
did they not address him?
I can tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, so he actually did he actually did a terrific job with Blue Star. Blue Star is now like one of the main is like one of the main carriers. Just kind of like, like American Airlines, like it's that big. He sold it for millions and millions of dollars, and now he's just kind of like living off that. And he's
Good.
successful. He gets the happy ending. He gets the happy ending, and he gets what he wants, which was to keep Blue Star around.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I don't know that I could have seen a different way for his character to go unless he like spent the rest of his life in jail or something.
Yeah, so I mean, he's only in it for a little bit, but I mean, they definitely wrap up that character's
Wait,
storyline.
So he's actually in the sequel?
From what I remember, yeah, again, like I fell asleep like halfway through it, and I woke up at one point and I realized, man, it's late, and I turned it off and I went to bed, and I haven't like a lot of what I know from when I was asleep, I know from looking stuff up about it because I wanted to know, and it's been years since then. So
Okay.
They actually have his picture on the wall of one of the hangars of Blue Star, and that's where they got the inspiration for.
well,
the
I gotta
second
say,
Independence Day.
so I'm happy that I was able to get you guys to watch this.
Yeah.
This is part one of my revenge for the MacGruber movie. Because there is a very important joke that I think we can. You guys, okay? So now you guys know that that Mr. Sheen was in Apocalypse Now, and do you guys know that Charlie Sheen was in Platoon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, then we can skip. Then we can skip both of those. So my revenge is not going to last as long as I thought it was going to.
I
Awesome.
mean, I still like both of those movies and be happy to watch them.
I still haven't seen either of those movies, so.
We will watch them eventually, but I really want to get to my revenge, so we're just
Okay.
gonna bypass those for now because that's all you really need to know.
Yeah. Well, that being said, I don't really have anything else for Wall Street. Devin, do you?
No, this was. I mean, it was fun. Like I said,
Okay.
garbage characters, fun movie.
Garbage characters, fun movie. I like the message that this movie has. This movie is dedicated at the end of the film to Oliver Stone's father, who was a stockbroker. And I just, this is my like here's you want the moral of the story. You want to know how the American business system works.
There you go. Have
Check
fun.
out Wall Street.
Have fun,
All
you
right.
scamp.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that does it for this week's topic, which is Wall Street. So we talked a bit at the beginning of the show about Oscar nominations. So if you're watching live, go back and check out the beginning of the stream after we're done, or check out the episode when it's released tomorrow on podcasting platforms. A lot of the Oscar nominated films are available to stream. So I've got a proposition for you guys. Do we want to just spend the next few weeks just doing Oscar nominated stuff for this year?
Totally fine with me.
Because I know
at
that,
that point I will have at least seen them.
yeah, because I know at least one that you guys have seen that I haven't, which is Encanto. So I'm going to start that off next week, I think.
Good.
I'd rather be yelled at by Ollie, but I'll do it.
Yeah. My pick for next week is Power of the Dog with Benedict Cumberbatch, Jesse Plemons, and Kirsten Dunst on Netflix. I can't really describe this film. I went into it not knowing much, so I want you guys to do the same. I've been holding on to this one for when it got nominated for all the Oscars to do it on the show. Because I think we can have a very good conversation about this movie, and it's definitely worth me going back to revisit. So, yeah, so that's my pick. Power of the Dog on Netflix. And we'll be talking about that hopefully next week. We might change things up a bit before then, but if we do, you can find out on our Facebook page, our Instagram, our TikTok, our Twitter feed, which I should be using more. But if you're watching on Twitch, go ahead and hit that follow button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. You can listen to You Have to Watch This podcast on all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Audible. Until next time, for You Have to Watch This podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And greed is not good. Not good.
No.
No. 1 out of 10 do not recommend. We'll see you next week.